FZ-07 on series. Jake's gonna turn a wrench. This makes him a customizer.
Welcome to the Bolt Stuff On series. This is YouTube 2017, I'm sorry. Now, in today's video we're going to be putting LED headlight on the FZ-07 here. Also, we're going to be throwing some on the WR as well. So it's kind of like a two-part little video here. We're going to mainly show the install on this one, then sort of a quick one on, you'll see. It should be pretty cool. Typically these days they're a lot brighter. They have a much more white light than the conventional halogen bulbs. They didn't used to be that way, but the technology seems to have come along well enough now that the LED bulbs are really nice. They've got dual beam. You don't have to run a wiring harness on these anymore. You used to have to do that. I think they figured out that's not necessary. LEDs have a really long life in comparison to halogen bulbs. This bulb should last the life of the bike. We'll be taxing the electrical system less, we'll have a brighter light, it'll look cooler. A lot of cool benefits. So let's look at what we're actually going to be putting on here today. This is, okay, so this is what, aux beam headlight, LED headlight kit. Premium LED conversion kit. Apparently can run off 12 or 24 volts. I don't know why that would ever be a thing you'd be running, but this is really an automotive kit. Its original design is for a car. That's why I have two of them in here, which really works out because both of my bikes take an H4 bulb. You know, so even if your bike only have one, you probably can buy this kit and split it with a buddy or something like that. But it's so simple. This is all it is. This is the LED, and you've got, I think it's one low beam and two high beams, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Whatever it is, there's 3 LEDs on here, and this is all you need. It just plugs right into the existing housing. The only thing you got to watch out for is that you'll have room for this. In a car, it's typically not a problem, but this is basically a little heat sink on the back here with a really small fan. So the only issue we may have is if it's going to actually have enough room behind the bulb here, behind the headlight shroud to fit. And because what you guys don't know is I often fully install these things and uninstall them for the sake of the video before time, it's going to be okay. Also, this being a car one, not a motorcycle one, you may think there'd be some issue there, but I looked it up. It had some sort of dust and water rating, and unless you're hitting the backside of this with a power washer, which you'd have to like turn the bar sideways and like push it'd be stupid. You'd be having other problems anyway. Otherwise, this can get wet all day. It's fine. This will be absolutely fine in the rain and regular washing or whatever other typical water would run down the backside of the headlight shroud. These are what, T10 Premium Auto LED. Basically, these are the little running light lights. Now, if you go to the auto store, one of these will cost you like 10 bucks. I bought a pack of 10 for $10. No, less than $10, I think, on Amazon. So these literally come up to $1 a piece. The only reason I'm replacing that is because on both of my bikes it has a regular, incandescent halogen, whatever you're supposed to call it, bulb on there, and it's sort of yellowy looking. And if you're going to get to that point where you're replacing the main headlight, you might as well spend what equates to $1 a piece for these and just go all LED. That way it will be very white looking. And again, yes, you'll have a little bit of savings in, on your electrical system too. Let's do it. Kind of wiggle it and pull back, and we can get it pretty much off here. Now we want to go and just unplug the connectors here. Start with the turntables. You can kind of rest it on this little stand down here if you want to do that. Maybe keep your leg up against it so in case it does try to fall, you're ready to grab it. Start by disconnecting our turn signals here. There's a connector right here on top that goes to the running light. Let's go ahead and unplug that. And then finally, just pull on it. This is the main plug for the H4 bulb itself. Now, we have the headlight. We can take this over to the bench and work on it there. We take the headlight here. Let's start by flipping it over. The first thing we need to do is we need to pull this sort of dust cover off the back here. Should just pull right up. And we'll pop it off here and set this to the side. To take the stock headlight out, you have this little clip here. Just push down, pull it over. This whole thing sort of hinges back. And here is your stock headlight. Now you want to be careful not to touch this with your fingers. In fact, from here on out, I'm going to throw some gloves on. Good place to put your stock bulb. If you want somewhere to keep it safe, take one of these out, stick this where the old one was. Stick it right there in the old case there, and just in case you ever want to put it back for some reason. All right, so as you can see, looking at this up closer now, you can see what I'm talking about, having this big heat sink on the back with a small fan on here. This has got to have room to go inside of here. and use this dust piece. Now it took me a minute at first, this is why I sometimes do these things off camera to start with, to try to figure out how to make this all work, okay? But I've got it all figured out now. The hardest thing is basically this dust guard and then trying to wiggling it all back in there. Once it's in there, it'll be fine. It's just a little tricky. Now to start with, this housing right here, this piece, we need to take this off. And you can actually take this off just by twisting it and pulling up. All right, now that we have that off, we're gonna stick this piece on, the big dust boot. We're gonna go and put this on here like this. Pull it down a little bit. Then we're gonna take this piece and stick it back on. And this is where you sort of wiggle it into the seal there, spin it, and it locks that thing into place pretty tightly. I need to make sure I set this one right, because if you can flip this whole pattern around, and I know it's the way it comes out of the box is right, because I already tested that way. Okay, yep, making sure it's right, because like I said, you could flip this whole thing, I think, 180 with this piece right here if you needed to switch the headlight pattern. Doing this with the rubber piece already connected is a little bit goofy, but it is what it is. Now I have this notch here, that's got to go on the bottom side. It'll make sense when you look in here, and then this little notch on the top hooks in up here. So we're gonna pull this piece back. What we gotta try to do here, I think it's best right now, just kind of fold this thing back a little bit. Because you have to try to get this clip to come down with it inside this gap here. It's a little bit of a stretch, you gotta give it a little pull here. And this is again why we're wearing our gloves, because we don't wanna start touching this bulb too much. All right, so work that down. Being particularly careful of the outside one, which has got a sort of a sharp edge on it. The other side's bent up, so you're not really up against the rubber with it. And once you get that down a little bit, you're also gonna have to try to manipulate the bulb into the housing. It's a little bit of a dance to get it all lined up. All right, there it is. Now I've got the little clip in the right position, so I can start locking it in. I just gotta get the headlight now in its correct position, which I do have. And once you have it there, now we can bring that little hinge back down just as it was and lock it all into place. And man, I'm telling you, it locks much tighter now that it's got that on there. You can see here the bulb doesn't turn. It's on there. We can re-push this down. And the important thing here is that we're still exposed. We still have this heat sink right here exposed. And look here, you can see too from the front side, you can see the little notches in place here. We've got this in the correct position. Doesn't look unusual or anything like that. So that's good. Make sure that's all pressed down proper. This is pressed down proper, and we should have this steel properly sealed, yet this is now vented. Next part is a little less tricky. We just got to do this bulb down here. This is the running light bulb. So we're gonna pull this little cable out of this little plastic right here. And then this one down here, you simply twist and pull, and then your bulb pops out here. I'm gonna pull this guy out. Oddly enough, when testing this earlier, I found that I would put this in, sometimes when it worked and I'd flip it around, it would work, which is really weird. If you look in there the way this is and the way this is built, it shouldn't matter, but it does for some reason. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna plug it in right now. Then before I stick this back in the bike 100%, I'm gonna go connect it real quick and see if it works. I'm gonna hook up the running light to start with. Now that should be on right now. Let me see, it's not. So let me flip it around here. Yep, there it is. Now she's working. Ooh, that's pretty bright to look at. All right, now that's working, so we go ahead and clip that guy in now. Turn it and re-secure our little rubber line on here. All right, and if you want, not a bad idea, of course, you can go ahead and test the headlight out real quick. Just plug straight in there, and then we'll turn it on. Now we actually have to start the bike. First of all, you can see right here, I don't know if you can tell, it's already a lot wider, that light down there. It was very yellow before, so we'll actually have to fire it. We can fire it and kill it real quick, but let's see here. Wow, that is pretty white looking. And there's high beam. Low beam, high beam, yep. And it looks like when you go to high beam, it actually doesn't turn off the low beam circuit, which is pretty cool. So it should be even a good bit brighter than the stock bulb, because in the stock bulb, when you go to the other when you flip to the other circuit, it actually turns off the low beam. So this is not only a more white light, but you're gonna get both high and low beam on at the same time. And another good thing to test right here is this fan. I can see this fan is running, Like I said, I tested this before. You can even feel it through the gloves. I can feel it's pushing air out all around here. It's pulling air in and pushing it through. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and reconnect everything else. We don't have to pull it back off from this point. We can start connecting everything. Trying to find a good place for everything to sort of sit when it's up in there. That's the one thing you'll have to figure out is this normally set right up against the back here. You'll have to try to find room for it somewhere underneath here. May not be a bad idea to go ahead and test your turn signals, make sure you've done these proper. See, I did in reverse. That's why you check. Awesome. Okay, now we can start trying to tuck everything in there, make sure we're on that little point down there. You know, these wires will sort of sit up in this gap here in the front. Shouldn't be a big deal. The main thing I gotta do is figure out where to put this tail right here. Really, it's not too crammed on this bike. Some of these bikes, man, trying to get it even the stock wiring up in there is such a pain. And on this one, it's not too bad. Often when I try to put the headlight back on this bike, these little metal guys right here, sorry, there's a fly buzzing around me. They get kind of hung up, so you gotta watch those. All right, so what I'm gonna do here, once I get it bolted, I'm gonna use a really light, sort of lightly held in place zip tie to keep the connector up high. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall my bolts real quick. When putting these bolts back in, whether you have a windshield or not, but particularly if you have a windshield, remember just to kind of start everything sort of loose, and then you tighten it up at the end. And you don't need to go crazy on any of these bolts. These ones right in here, for instance, these are just little rubber ones that sort of hold these two pieces together. The bolt that actually holds the headlight on are these two side ones right here. And they're still, I think they're going into, I believe this is aluminum up here, if not some kind of cast. You don't want to go crazy on it. You don't need to, you know, get a torque wrench and put it in torque pounds when it's supposed to be in inch pounds or something stupid like that. You want to take it easy on this. I have to put some very small washers behind my little windscreen right here to make the alignment perfect. And it's one of those weird things where it's a little bit finicky putting it together. I can't really complain though, because this was, I believe, 30 bucks on Amazon. And I put links to everything in the description, guys, if you want to see it. This was my favorite windscreen for this bike. Of all the windscreen fly screens, I don't know if it actually does much to deflect wind. I don't really care. Just thought it looked good. It's just really cleaned up the front end of this bike. It is aluminum, weighs about nothing. Snug them down. This whole front end should be 100% solid at that point. Now I don't know how much of this you'll really be able to see. This is kind of a hard shot to show you, but the wire to that H4 bulb is kind of going up right here, and I want it to stay kind of in this pocket up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a zip tie. I'm not going to crank it to this other wire. I'm just going to sort of loop it around this other one up here, which should persuade this to stay right up in here, this connector. Because if it ends up coming down here, this is the connector. If it ends up flopping around or coming out here somewhere, it could easily get caught in the bump stop down here, which would crush it. You know that thing when you're working around a camera and you realize like your hands are covering the shot anyway? You get the idea. And real quick before we finish up, if you want to do this on, let's say, the WR450 as well, you got two 8mm bolts on the other side, boom, boom, disconnect the light wires, take this over to the bench, and do the same thing. It's literally the same job. God, I got all these spots in my eyes from making sure this works. Alright. Hey guys, let's make sure everything works. Again, on the Yamahas, you actually have to start the engine. You can kill it though right after you start it to check out the light, but first do that. You can see the running lights on, very much wider looking. I know it's not super visible on this bike. It's more visible on the WR, which I'll show you in a minute. But that was very yellowy looking before. Now, let's go ahead and start her up. On the WR, the actual little running light bulb is super exposed, so check this out. It's hard to look at that. Alright, here we go. Let's give it a little fire up here. Alright, man. Golly, that is going to look really bright. That is hard to look at right now. I think what's super cool about this kit too is the way it keeps the low and high beam on at the same time. So far, so good. We just need to wait till to get nighttime now, and we'll go test this thing out. It's nighttime. We're on a country road. Hey, look, it's 1:31 in the morning. I'm gonna take the FZ-07 out. I took the WR out earlier, like right when it first got dark. It's everything this one is. I don't want to take it out and film now because I'm already like probably
off half my neighbors warming this thing up and taking it out at 1:30 in the morning. I'll tell you what happened. The wife was like, hey, before you go, I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones. You wanna watch Game of Thrones? And I'm not like up with the new, I'm like, we're kind of just started watching it. We've been watching it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I will, you know. Then one episode turned into two. Anyway, it's 1:30 in the morning. It's great conditions though to test the headlights. I mean, look, and if it's not already obvious, holy crap, this is really good. I am now lowering my visor, which is a tinted visor, and it doesn't even really matter. They don't even know, we're not even on high beam right here. The thing about the high beam is I don't see a drastic difference throwing the high beam on, but I think the cool thing is it does project up a little bit more, but I don't lose the low beam. You know, sometimes, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll be going along and it's like you're trying to decide, oh, do I need high beam or low beam on this road? And you go to high beam and you can't see what's directly right in front of you, like right here. Like, I give this thing props. It actually does a really great job here. God, look at all the, I'm just like, I'm full of light now. You want to be seen, right? You're not trying to get smashed into. Holy shit. That's bright. That is hard to look at. I mean, you've been following this Bolt stuff-on series, as I should say. You know, we did the back tail light and the whole thing. I mean, look, we got that tail light is considerably brighter than the stock one. Then we've got the cool integrated, the LED here. Everything is LED now. It's really bright. I mean, dude, just look at this thing, man. And you got the running light mode when those aren't going. This thing, look at this. Just look at the light it's projecting down the road. This thing's insane, man. I think the turn or the putting the headlight on is kind of like the icing on the cake. I've totally got my visor down on a backcountry road, my tinted visor at 1:35 in the morning. I don't have a problem seeing. Well, now I do. Okay, hang on. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Maybe I'll have to put another light under the bike pointing forward like at a weird angle so you do a wheelie. Hey, I remember stunt guys doing that back in the day. Look at that thing. Woo! The kit, even though this is a car kit, this H4 bulb kit will totally work on an FZ-07 and a WR450. Again, I can't guarantee it'll work for every motorcycle just because of the fact that I don't know how much clearance you have, but it's not like it's any different from any other of the H4 LED kits I saw that were motorcycle specific. They all have that same backing on there. You know, you're just probably going to have to stick your head back there and take a look and see what kind of room you got. If your bike takes 2 bulbs, well, then the car kit's perfect. If it only takes 1, heck, buy the car kit, split it with a buddy, you know, give him the bulb. Or if you got 2 bikes like me that both happen to take H4, of course, they've got all kinds of other size bulbs too. That was a really, really easy install. This bulb will basically outlast the motorcycle. It's LED. It should at least. I don't have a multimeter that can check amperage draw, but I would love to have, like, it's too late now, but I've done it before and after, like with all the bikes now with LEDs, which are considerably brighter and use. I just would love to see how much less electricity they use and being brighter, and they last longer. And dude, LEDs are like, why isn't everything LEDs? Why are we using any incandescent bulbs or halogen bulbs anymore? I mean, let's look at this intersection for a minute and sit here. Those are definitely LEDs. That bulb over there isn't, but these street lights are LEDs. Wow, that is just... This setup is so cool now, man. My fan running at such low temperatures because of the ECU flash. Check them out, you know, look at the links in the description. Of course, I put the link to everything I've done on this bike, and it does help us out if you do decide to buy, if you go through those links. Stay tuned because I do have some other stuff we're going to be doing to this bike, and I've got some other plans and blah, 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 a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I think that's a pretty successful Bolt stuff on series. You guys take care.